Hey, what's up everybody? Recovering the final bits of EuroCup and Codename Covert, but before we get into that, if you guys can't notice, the stuff behind me is a little bit more faded out. I should be able to like stand out a bit more. Let me know what you guys think. Today's video, we're going to be talking about Codename Covert and EuroCup. They both went down and both finished up. So first on the list you guys can see is Mirage versus Loco down in the lower bracket, where Mirage ended up actually losing 4-3. And I wasn't sure if Loco was going to be able to kind of stick with it, but that's kind of the exciting thing about these matches is you're starting to see newer names or names that you may be a bit more familiar with. I guess more reps is the best way to kind of phrase it, but the fantastic thing about it is you are seeing some of these talent really develop as they get more and more shots. Really good play by Mirage. But as the series progresses, even though the guys are probably relatively nervous as this is an elimination match, they warm up and start to play better and better. As we see from the results on Liquipedia, you can just tell like the matches relatively are close all across, but I think big shout outs to all the players that come and compete. Unfortunately, a lot of these matches I wasn't able to really dive into. I could only check them in bits and pieces in between casting the EuroCup stuff, but again, really exciting stuff that you're seeing. I recommend if you guys haven't, go back and watch some of these series. You can kind of see the up and coming talent and things that they're doing that may allow you to progress further. Some of these guys are doing a fantastic job of increasing their own, I guess, value, I guess is the best way to put it, throughout these tournaments. So some of the bigger guys are taking a look at them. And if you guys take looks over to the Brawl 10K, you can kind of see some of that information being kind of revealed as the Smash GG pages have some of those newer rosters. We then jump over to E United versus Envy, and so I knew the illusion thing was a little bit more of a problem, but I did not expect E United to play this well. They ended up clean sweeping the series, as you take a look at Liquipedia, 4-0 clean sweep, but obviously very, very close. 3-1 goal games, 2 of those being into OT, and then the last game, E United really woke up, and E United carries through with that. It's tough, because I don't want to discredit it. I don't want to say it's fluky. But Envy is playing with Illusion, who is probably going to be yeeted off the roster. They then play Loco, who is a ragtag bunch of people who, again, Loco is not even going to be their full roster if ZPS is going to play with a different team in Brawl 10K. And then they go up against the Space Station and they get, what's a good word? Mollywopped, I think, is one we'll go with. So, again, I do think that I commend them. The fact that they were able to keep it as close as they did against Space Station, kind of jump of the gun here, is kind of important. But United was a very big surprise for me in this tournament. Every single time that I tuned back into the stream and I saw like, yo, wait, they're still playing? I expected these guys to be out a long time ago, and they weren't. I think credit is due, and I got to go back on what I said. I think the guys at United, I think they're one of the few teams right now that is pretty solidified that Memory is going to be coming in, even though it's not official and hasn't been a signing yet. They're willing to commit to playing with him early, and it is actually benefiting them an absolute ton. It's going to be more so I need Ajax involvement on defense and offense is significantly better, but I need that more and more. And Hoxer, he used to be the best player on the team. He was always with a ton of involvement, but he was quiet last season. So seeing him and Ajax step up has been a lot. Again, accuracy is plagued. There's a lot of things that they can do better, and teams are going to punish them for it, as we saw Space Station. We then jump up to the winners bracket, where Space Station went up against NRG in the winners finals, and Covert storylines developed well. So yesterday we talked about how Space Station and NRG are both very talented, and that NRG has a lot of glimpses of early vitality, but Space Station right now I feel is a bit more solidified, and there's a lot of talent on the roster, primarily Sypical being the best player in the world. I will say, spoiler, Sypical won MVP for the day, claimed an extra bit of a bounty for himself, and was a lot of the reason why Space Station continues to be so dominant. Very, very talented team, but despite saying all that, NRG actually ended up winning this series in a best of 7. It went the distance, and we got to see it twice, again, jumping ahead into the grand finals. But another back and forth. The scary thing to me, and the reason why I talk about Space Station the way that I do, is their ability to adapt and overcome. And we got exactly that. 3 games to NRG. They're down 3-0, and Space Station then wins 3 in a row. 4-2, 2-1, and 3-2, which is just unbelievable. And I don't want to go too much into the details, but a lot of it, again, has to do with that tandem between Sypical and Arsenal. The way that they work together is just so talented and so frustrating to play against. And then as the series progresses and throughout Space Station's performance in this entire tournament, you start to see why AXB is actually such a crucial member in this team. Everybody kind of discredits him, and he's easily the first one to go, but that's only because Sypical and Arsenal are so very talented and work so well together. But numerous times, AXB, lack of hesitation, moving upfield, being impactful as that third person, very familiar to what was able to work well for Mouse in the EuroCup, which we'll get to after this. And the more and more they become exposed to this high-level play, you are seeing what Squishy is fully capable of. I do think that the roster changes from Cloud9 across now Rat Enterprises, as you guys made fun of my facial reaction reading that name in yesterday's video. They are and were in need of some changes. I think there's some internal things that they were trying to fix since like season 6, they were saying, where they're trying to fix some of those issues. And I think Squishy is just happy to be out. He's surrounded by a lot of people that are very talented, and this is going to be so refreshing for him after playing with Gimmick and Torrent for so long. And we've seen this in numerous rosters in previous times where you get a player who is super talented, Turbo, and he goes to a new team where it revitalizes his love for the game, NRG. They end up winning a world championship. I think there's some really exciting things that we're starting to see with Squishy on this roster. But the big thing is NRG is back on top of North America, and they did that in a very short time frame. There is a lot of things that I know it's not credible. It's only one tournament, but I genuinely have NRG pegged as one of the favorites moving into this tournament, and it is making me second guess all of my seeding. I was getting ready to seed and figure things out, but now I can't really do that. Like, it's so difficult with how competitive high-level NA Rocket League is getting. We then jump down back to the lower bracket where Loco versus E-United ended up playing. And Loco and E-United, again, E-United, a little bit closer than I expected it to be with the way that the results ended up playing out. But United really hit their stride in this series. I think this is when I was impressed most. There's a lot of things that they do well, and I think the biggest issue, again, is just having that player that can really take matters into their own hands. But as a team, they work pretty well fundamentally. You're starting to see Hawkster try to get a bit more involved on offense while Ajax is kind of holding down the fort on defense. It definitely feels like the role that is between Memory and Ajax is kind of a dual role. Like, it's too similar, from my opinion. Like, they need something different. And even though the similarities allow them to really rotate well and kind of work together well, I feel like they're missing something. If I was to put them against all the other full rosters based upon the ones that have and have not yet been announced, I can't comfortably put them in the top 5. We then jump ship into the lower finals between United and Space Station Gaming, where Space Station Gaming ends up winning the series 4-1. And this is where the legend of Sypical started to transcend. A lot of these things like this are the reason why he is one of the best players in North America. And that duo between him and his teammates, it doesn't matter nowadays. Obviously, Arsenal always gets the nod, but Sypical is the one to just make things happen. Offense, defense does not matter. The guy is extremely talented, and even against a surging United, Space Station just had their way with it. There's a couple mistakes and a couple things that Space Station, I think, after kind of having to wait, took a bit to wake up, and you saw that in the series. Double commits and just rotating poorly, but they're able to hold on. I mean, the series score, you're talking 1 goal differential in every single game. United put up a fight, and I don't want to discredit them. It's just there's a lot of opportunities that they had to put things away about the things I talked about with accuracy plaguing them and a couple of overlaps, but all around, United put up a really good fight, and I'm actually really happy to see them do that because Space Station's playing with the same roster. You know, there's no changes. They're just sticking with what they already know. While United has obviously been testing out Memory for a while, you got more of a recognizable game. I think this is something that we can become accustomed to seeing moving forward. As a Space Station, there's no way they're changing their roster with how dominant they've been, and I think United is pretty sold on Memory. I think the biggest thing to take from the United Space Station series in the end is this was a rematch, and in the first showing, I mean, Space Station clean sweep, pretty convincing victory, even though there was 2 OTs. This time, all 1-goal games. So I think United is definitely getting better, and I still want to give them credit. Next up, Battle of Titans, yet another rematch. And this is where we really got to see it underway. NRG versus Space Station, literally trading every other game. This series was just, it had everything. And I don't want to talk too much about it. I'd much rather you guys go and watch it. And I want to give a lot of credit to Dazran and the crew that did all this. And I'll get into that in just a sec. But this series, if you look at the Liquipedia results, it is a true back and forth. They traded every other game. And it made it super exciting, and one of those games that's like, it's just going to go down in history. Like, This series is the first time that we're truly seeing Squishy with energy in a competitive environment in a grand final. You're seeing how well respected Sypical is throughout the series and what he can do. You got to see a space station that was playing with everybody being involved. And there's been times in the past where you see Eggs be a little bit quiet, but I love that he's answering that call. That confidence is something that he's definitely struggled with in the past, but he's starting to play with that, which is making Space Station even better. So I'm really happy to see where Space Station's at right now, but the fact that Energy is where they are immediately after doing a roster change, I think is a really big deal. And it's probably going to be the biggest focus, is seeing how Squishy slots into these games and how well he's playing with the team. I can't say I expected. I did not think that Squishy was going to rotate in, or I guess fit in so well to this team. But I guess that just goes to show how talented the players are. It's very difficult to take a playstyle that you've been able to win a world championship with. But the biggest thing I notice is without Turbo, Garrett just seems more alive. There's always had this mentality of Garrett's had to support Justin as he goes and does crazy things. But now you're seeing Garrett kind of be unleashed again. It's very reminiscent of the first time we saw Jacob leave NRG, where Garrett was finally able to stop playing defense and move up and be aggressive and go for stuff more than just off the ground. And now that Garrett can do that and has the support of Squishy, like I said with the Vitality thing, literally anybody on that team can bail them out of trouble. If they're in a tough situation, I have faith in every single one of these players to buy time or to go for a dribble and bring it down the other way, which is exciting. I think Energy's been looking for this resurgence. It's definitely a big era. You even saw after the victory from Energy, Cloud9 replying to Squishy and being like, yo, like, we're proud of you kind of thing. So I'm glad to see the support is there. I think this is a series that, as much as I want to talk about in specifics, I don't want to spoil any of the moments. So I recommend highly go back, watch the series. Jumping over to EuroCup 10K with Lethmir and the crew. I'm going to be brutally honest with you guys. This is going to be more of an update than a specifics. I was asleep during these matches. James and Marky Duda ended up covering the early matches, while me and Turtle covered the late matches. So I was eating breakfast and stuff before I could tune in and watch these. But Dignitas goes up against Vodafone Giants, where going the full distance, but Dignitas actually lost. I heard a lot of different things about why this happened, but I still am not exactly sure what went down. I mean, you're talking 2 overtimes, one of them being extremely long, and it might have just taken the wind out of the sails for Dignitas. I mean, you're talking a 6-minute overtime. They end up getting that victory, but then you would assume they would be able to bounce back in the next game, but they end up losing 3-0. So credit to Giants, man. We then jump over to Vitality in Barcelona. Vitality was starting to do things that I was afraid for other teams. I caught the tail end of this one, and even though I did predict Vitality was going to come out on top, I still expected a little bit of a slow start, and they kind of came out of the gates running hot, which is fantastic. I think I'm going to have to change my opinion on the way that Vitality starts, because as of late, they've been playing very, very well from the get-go. Usually they do take a bit to warm up, but I just can't keep saying that, because at this point, it does seem like Vitality has done a relatively good job in their past couple of events to really showcase that they are here to play right at the start, which I think makes it very dangerous for other teams. A team that primarily usually takes a bit to warm up is coming hot out of the gate, and getting those early wins is part of the reason why they've been so successful. So Vitality started playing very aggressive and winning a lot of challenges, and that carried through even more so into their next match. We then jump up to the winners finals, and gosh, did we get a series all the way to 7, back and forth between both teams. But BDS ends up actually prevailing and moving into the grand finals. Mouse Sports, I think, gets a shout, and there's a couple things that this one's going to be talked about. The first one being the fact that BDS won. Mouse looks really good with Fruity. I think they're rotating well. Their biggest asset right now is Cookster has been moving up more and more on offense. A lot of mechanical plays, some flip resets, and things I haven't seen Cookster do in a very long time in the Batmobile. So this one's going to be a little bit different, and this series is kind of going to be plagued by this, unfortunately. It goes down in history, honestly. But I'm just going to keep playing this part over and over again manually, and you guys are going to be able to hear me click. But in Game 5, what ended up happening is the series is tied up. Mouse Sports is down by 1. They keep the ball in the air, and as they're moving downfield, you see right there that Monkey Moon jumps, and all of a sudden he just stops moving up. It looks like he's going to use his boost to elevate and get to the backport to stop this. But because they all disconnect at 0 seconds in 0-second time, it shows that Speed scored it on his perspective. But if you watch Monkey Moon on the bottom here, he just falls. He's already started to jump to go up to the backboard, but he falls. So the fact that there is a possibility of him going to be making a save and that uncertainty is there, you can't just gift a goal to the other team. And that's the frustration. So even though Mouse may have felt cheated after getting that 0-second goal, they do end up winning the next game, and it kind of nullifies it, which leaves Game 7 to neutral ground. It's between both teams. Really good positioning by Team BDS, the thing that we talked about yesterday, and the ability to just clear it out of their own half and control a majority of the field. These guys were just about everywhere they needed to be, and a really good back and forth between Mouse and Team BDS with constant rotations through by Mouse. And you saw that a lot as well against their game in Vitality, which we'll get to after this. But their capabilities to, as they're rotating through, go for demos to stop rotations from developing in the first place. We then jump down to the lower round 3, where Giants played a surging Vitality, where Vitality did whatever they wanted. Out of the gate, they come out super aggressive, absolutely dominate, and Vodafone Giants couldn't do anything. 4-0 in every single game, clean sweep across the board. They did not let in a single goal. This was brutality coming out from Vitality, and this is when I was like, okay, this is a Vitality that I don't know if anybody can beat. And they did very, very well. We then jump into the Vitality Mouse Sports game in the losers finals. The series ended up being 4-1 in favor of Mouse. Game 1 starts, Vitality wins, goes to OT, and then Game 2 goes to OT, and then Game 3 goes to OT. And me and Turtle start joking, like, is this going to be another situation of like Oxygen, where they and Dignitas are just going to go to OT in every single match? Mouse had Vitality's number. The number one thing that I noted from this is both Speed and Fruity, when on offense, after losing possession on their rotation back, would demo the third player of Vitality, and Vitality just couldn't do anything about it. Constant like 2v2s that ended up coming out in this series ended up benefiting Mouse Sports majority of the time. Vitality actually having to pretty much play 2v3 because they were getting demoed a lot on those rotations. But it basically meant that every time Vitality was moving downfield or trying to set something up, the third guy that they needed to sustain it just wasn't there. And it was really good credit to Mouse Sports. They did a fantastic job of doing things that people don't normally recognize, which is the risky stuff. Mouse Sports had no hesitation in their offense. Too many times that you see teams where it gets in tense situations and they back off, but because of lack of hesitation and not being afraid to go and put themselves out of position with a bump or moving that third person in to put a shot away, they gave themselves advantage a majority of the series and ended up getting victories because of it. So Mouse Sports, new addition of Fruity, looking very talented and bring themselves back for yet another rematch. Mouse Sports is what knocked down Vitality and ended up knocking them out. And then they got the rematch against Team BDS. We then jump into the grand finals, and we got to see what Mouse continues. A lot of aggression, a lot of pressure in the beginning, and almost as if they were stealing things away. But then as we progressed further, Team BDS did what they did again, where they started off a little bit slower, games go down, and then they sweep it across 4 games in a row. But Mark by 8, if there was an MVP, he stole the show for me. Obviously, Extra comes in as the newcomer, but Mark by 8 was phenomenal in this series. His capability to, whenever Mouse made a mistake, he was there to punish every single time. There was a whiff on defense, he was there. There was something going on with Mark by 8 where he really stole the show for me, and that showed even more so in the OT. If you guys go back and watch the final goal, which is on the subreddit right now, you can just see his tendency to follow up and support his team. And that's, I think, what makes BDS so difficult to play against is their capabilities to support and play. Monkey Mood was at probably one of the quiet ones in this series where we didn't see him scoring a bunch of high prolific goals. We didn't see him going for a lot of those flashy air dribbles or those flip resets above the net. It was just very clean, grounded play coming out from Team BDS, and I think that's commendable because we know the capability they have on the other side. I also think credit has to go to Mouse. The fact that they're able to shut that out, their pressuring and their challenging has finally moved forward, and it was something that we wanted to see back in Season 9 when Scrub came in, solidified defense. Now Cookster and Speed can move forward, and we just haven't seen it. And a lot of the questions about Fruity are being answered. I will say that Fruity did make a lot of mistakes. There was a lot of missed touches. He ended up losing one of their other first games because he had a touch where he ended up flipping and ended up pushing back towards his net, which Alpha was able to recover in their earlier series. But Fruity ended up making quite a few mistakes. But overall, like, I love where this team is headed. That is going to wrap it for all the recaps. And for 2 of the community tournaments down, massive shout-outs again to Lethmere and Dazran for the tournaments that they put together and $19,000 in prize pool money. Up next, though, is going to be my own, the Brawl 10K. And as a reminder, uploads this week are going to be a little bit different. Tomorrow is going to be the open qualifiers. There probably won't be an upload. There might be. It depends on what games I get. And then every day after that is going to be the VODs just put up for you guys to watch. So if you guys are not able to tune in live, don't worry, they will be on YouTube the following day. Again, if you guys enjoy the content, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you hit the like button, all that fun stuff, as it greatly helps me out. Any questions, comments, concerns, drop those down below and I'll do my best to get back to them. And sometimes you may find yourself featured in a video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications. That way you don't miss out on the best coverage for all things Rocket League. Appreciate you guys being here, and I hope to see you in chat for the Brawl 10K.